Hi, my name is Nicole and I'm with the Sweater Library. Today I'm going to show you my collection that I've made for 2024. So I'm going to cut in real quick here. The video that you're about to watch, in that video I talk about how I'm going to sell things on Etsy in the future. I did have things listed for about 2 weeks or so, and I decided that selling just wasn't for me. I won't go into all the reasons why at this point, but basically what I realized is that what I really want to do is just make things. I always like trying new methods and materials, and I want to share that with you and show you how I go about making things as opposed to trying to sell and market them to people. A lot of things have changed since then. That was filmed 8 months ago. I've moved since then. I've gotten a new job. I have a whole new healthcare network, which has been a whole thing because I'm chronically ill, and so that's been a lot to navigate. So it's been longer than I've wanted to be able to publish this, and I hope that being in this new place under these new circumstances will allow me the opportunity to put out videos more often. So that's all I'm going to say for now, and I hope you enjoy. So I made these things over the course of the last 2 to 3 years. I didn't really start out thinking I wanted to make a collection. I started out by just making things that I wanted to make and trying out some stitches that I had been, thinking about experimenting with. And I realized after a while, I gathered my things, all of the things that I had made, and one item was a skirt. So I could make a whole look basically with the skirt. And I realized that I wanted to experiment with shoes, so I went a little bit into that. And then once I had the shoes, it was like, okay, I've got the shoes, I've got the bag, I've got the top, I've got the skirt. What else do I have? So I put things together. I basically had all of my stuff have a meeting with each other, and once I was moving them around, I realized that because I was using a lot of the same yarn and a lot of similar colors, that I could make cohesive looks. And basically there was just one thing that I was missing, which was one more bottom. So I made another skirt. So that's this maxi skirt, in order to kind of tie it all together. In that time, since I've made this skirt, I've also completed a couple more garments. This one I didn't intend to be part of the collection either, but I just realized that it kind of matches this. And it uses the same technique as this other bikini that I made. So a couple of things got added afterwards, but anyway, I'm going to show you the first garment. This is the tank top that I wore in my YouTube introduction video. So this was made with crochet. It's this kind of checker pattern. I think that this is treble crochet, so it's done like just alternating kind of bricks throughout. The top is hand knit. The shaping of like the neckline and the shoulders. The back is just straight across, and then the bottom is hand knit. It's a 2x2 ribbing. So this is with the eco cotton yarn that I got from Tough the World. Tough the World yarn is 85% recycled cotton and 15% other fibers. It comes on a cone, which is great, especially if you're a machine knitter or you kind of go through yarn really quickly, because you don't have to, you can basically just put it on the ground and knit with it or crochet with it, and it doesn't get tangled at all, and you don't have to worry about it too much, just flying all over the place or getting into knots. So that's something that I really love about the eco cotton yarn, and you can buy it in large quantities, which is nice. So next I use that same yarn for a little bit of this. So for pieces of this little kind of like grocery mesh bag that I used also cotton, I think this is Patton's Grace yarn. I used pieces of the eco cotton just to accent it at the top and on the bottom. on the bottom, this is a really fragile piece of doily. It's a fragile doily is what I mean. And I got this from my old landlord. So my old landlord used to own an antiques shop on the beach, and they had all of this stuff in the garage, and they were selling the property, unfortunately, because that meant I had to move. But they got rid of a bunch of stuff, and one of the things that I inherited were all of their doilies. So I wanted to do something with them. I have a million more. I've used one. So this is what that is. It's like, you know, it's not exactly a cinch tie, which I think if I were to remake this, I would make another kind of loop so you could kind of like cinch it together. But this is what it is right now. It's just like a very fragile kind of dainty bag. Also with the Eco Cotton, I made this tank top. So this was made on the knitting machine. This is what I call the fidget sweater. I think of this as like, you know, like my intention for this was to have it look kind of distressed, but not really. Like it has some runs, like fake runs in it, and it has, basically it's like stitches that are moved over and then they're moved back, so they're caught. It's not a real run. Like a real run would just keep on going because there's an open live stitch that like just keeps going all the way down as you stretch it, and like say if you were wearing pantyhose, like it would just move down and keep ripping. But this, since that stitch doesn't get unraveled, if you understand like how knitting works, then like you're catching it and you're moving it onto the next needle and you're catching it and like basically closing that stitch. So I did that on the front and on the back. The front, like the back is a little bit more loose than the front. And I had this cord that I knit on the machine as well. And I just like wrapped it all through all of these like holes in random ways. I think of this like a worm that's going in like the earth. It's got all these little holes that you can kind of go through, and it's fun for people, especially who are pretty fidgety, that, you know, kind of like need some sort of tactile thing to hold on to and to play with as they're talking or doing whatever else. For me, it's just fun to like have something in my hands as I'm talking to somebody. It helps me concentrate a little bit more. I think perhaps people that are ADHD or on the spectrum perhaps could benefit from something like this. So this is what that's about. Yeah, so you can kind of like take it out whatever way you want. You could reweave it like into whatever holes like as you're wearing it. Yeah, and the holes of this, as well as, I mean, the holes on this neon yellow one are pretty wide open, so you can, it like has a looser fit on the side, which is something that I like. I don't necessarily love garments that are like this one, where it's like the armpit is like all the way up in your armpit, you know? So those are the straightforward tank tops. Next I have this one, also in Eco Cotton. This is a mesh tank top that was done on knitting needles. I think it was about 20 stitches across, and I did it with their size maybe 35 knitting needles, I think. But what's cool about this is that you can kind of stretch it a little bit this way if you want it to be wider, or you could stretch it down if you want it to be longer and or more narrow, longer and more narrow. I made this to match and to go over this tube top. So this tube top, you know, it uses that same yarn right here. This is it's got some really long ties, so you can adjust it to make it like super wide if you want it to. And so it can fit a number of sizes as long as like you feel comfortable with how wide it is, like right here. And this is using Intarsia crochet. The Intarsia crochet is something that, like, I had never tried intarsia crochet before, and so I wanted to try it on a really small garment before I, like, you know, tried to do something that was super complicated. I don't know if I'll ever do intarsia crochet again. It took a really long time, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I had to keep redoing it over and over again. And then another thing that I noticed about it is because I wanted this, so this is an ellipsis, so it's kind of like this cartoon thought bubble with a drop shadow on it. And I think of this as basically the state that I was at when I was making all of these garments, which was a place where I didn't feel like I was in a good creative, like, mindset because of my surroundings. And so I felt like I was buffering. Like, I felt like my potential to make things was, like, on hold, basically. So it was a little bit of a ... kind of like when you start up one of those old Macs and it kind of goes through these screens, and there you can see that it's, like, giving you dots because it's thinking about what it's supposed to be doing next. So that's kind of like where I was at when I was making this. This on the side is crochet ribbing, so it's a little bit stretchy. Not super stretchy since this is made of cotton and it's so like this is all single crochet, so it's like single crochet tends to be a little bit more rigid. So yeah. Oh, so the other thing that I was going to say is, yeah, it's a little bit off center, and so because I wanted it to be a little bit off center because of the way that the thought bubble is, and then it's kind of like coming from like the center. But what that wound up doing was it made this a little bit taller, and because of that, it's a little bit lopsided. So it's like wider here, or I should say like taller here or longer here as opposed to here, which looks like a little bit of a mistake. So I don't know. That's how that came out. I'd probably do it differently if I were to do intarsia crochet again, but I don't know that I will ever do intarsia crochet again. We'll see. Then I made this hat. So once again, it's that checker stitch with crochet with the Eco Cotton yarn in red this time. This is the same type of crochet ribbing that I used on the tube top. And then on the top, it's like circular crochet. It's a little loose. It fits pretty loosely. That might be your thing. I think if I were to redo this, I would try it a little bit smaller, but I don't know how I would go about doing it, because with the three kind of brick pieces and checkers, I don't know how you would go about decreasing that. Maybe I would just make this super small and like decrease really fast on the top. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's this hat. So with that same yarn, I made this cardigan on the machine. So this is on a flatbed knitting machine. I made the ribbing by hand on the machine, so it's a hand manipulated ribbing as opposed to using a second bed of needles for a knitting machine. Honestly, if I could start knitting all over again on a machine, I wouldn't even bother with a ribber. I would just hand manipulate everything. It's just, I don't know. I'll probably make another video about the difference between different knitting machines and what the pros and cons are. But anyway, I've got buttons on here that I found in various places. So most of these are thrift stores. This one I found in a parking lot, and it's my favorite one. I like the color, and it also looks like it's been run over a few times, so it's a bit raggedy and like kind of looks a little bit dirty, but it's also my favorite for that very reason. I can relate to this button. So the armholes are knit just straight down. There's no shaping to it. And then hand manipulated cuffs, and that's basically it. This is a pretty exact fit for me. If I were to redo this, I would do a wider fit. I didn't realize that this was going to be so not stretchy. I've done this amount of stitches across in this gauge before for a sweater, but because it's in this eco cotton yarn, it's got a different type of drape to it, and it's also got a different elasticity to it. So if I were going to redo this sweater in this yarn, I would make it a little bit bigger. It's also kind of interesting, this eco cotton, because it's heavy. It's even though it's cotton, and so it's supposed to be kind of like I think of this more as like a fall sweater. It's still pretty heavy, so I think that it does have some insulating properties to it. You know, obviously not as much as wool, but because it's so thick, and maybe because of the 15% of whatever the other fibers are, and maybe because it's been processed, because it's been like probably shredded and then like reconstituted in some way. I'm not really sure how they make this yarn, but it's got, you know, some weight to it. So it's just an interesting quality. So next up, we've got this halter top. This halter top I made with single crochet in, I think it was Lion Brand's primary color yarn. I think it's Lion Brand. I just made like a square, and then I went all the way around with a treble crochet, I think, and then I just folded over one edge, did a chain stitch to, you know, make the straps, and attached one to the top that was really long and one to either side. The thing is that, you know, like this, the edging's a little bit meshy, so doesn't have a whole lot of coverage, so you got to be comfortable with that if you're wearing this. Then I've got these hats I made in a chunky velour yarn. This yarn, they don't make it anymore, so I would have really liked to remake these objects, but I can't because I can't find that yarn anymore. So I made this by hand knitting it. I don't remember if I used needles or if I just like finger knitted it. I think I might have finger crocheted this. And then the top is just like even decreases, and it's also really heavy and sturdy, and so it like hugs your head. It feels kind of nice, actually. And then this is just like a single crochet across the top. The bottom is like a circular crochet, and then it's kind of like how you would make a basket, which there's a million tutorials on YouTube if you want to learn how to make that. This is a bikini, a crochet with nap time yarn, which is like a velour-ish yarn. I think it's a 100% polyester, perhaps made by Lion Brand, I don't remember. That's meant for babies, so like baby blankets, you know, nap time. And it's just single chain stitch and then like just shaping around. It's like, once you learn how to crochet, it's like the shaping of this is pretty straightforward, so it's just a back and forth like typical bikini shape. And once again, you can probably find this YouTube, you can probably find that as a YouTube tutorial, you know, anywhere on YouTube. Yeah, but that's that. And then I made another mesh top in the same exact way that I made the lavender one. This one has more memory to it, I want to say. It's a different drape because it's a different yarn. It's like sticks more when you stretch it out. And it's just super soft because of both the yarn and the way that it's constructed, and then like the looser meshy stitch. And then I made a matching skirt, crochet, slip stitch, ribbing here. This is not very stretchy, and it doesn't, yeah, I would have not done this if I had to redo this. I would maybe make this longer and then put some elastic in it, or just maybe try to do like knitting, like a knit rib up here instead, and also use elastic probably. This is all single crochet. I used a skirt that I have, like a pencil skirt, to like figure out what the width is at the hips of this and how much I wanted to decrease at the bottom. I did shell stitch for the bottom to have like a kind of lacy effect. And then I also made some matching shoes with a loop stitch. So the shoes themselves they're just Clark's. I never wore these shoes very much. I've worn them like twice, and I just decided that it would be cool to put something on it. I feel like these were crying for them because they had like a bunch of holes in them, and it was really easy to be able to tie something onto it. I wanted to tie it on like really loosely, but still securely, so that like I could flip it up and you could like see like the actual like what it used to be like. So like it's got your original Velcro closure, but then it's got one hook over here that then just like hooks onto whatever stitch. It doesn't have an eye, so it hooks onto like the stitches that I made for the ankle over here to cover this kind of ankle part of it. And then it hangs down pretty low, so it kind of is more of a, I would say, like photo shoot type of shoe as opposed to like wearing out type of shoe. And I gotta tie this up, so but then I made some shoelaces in the same way that this cord was made for the fidget sweater, and then this tank top, once again cords. I think that these are knit cords, and then the bikini area is made in the same way that this nap time bikini was made, but with this loop stitch that I did with crochet. Once again, this is all crochet ribbing, and then I did some ties on the top and the bottom, since this is a wider kind of waistband that you can then tie around the back. So then I've got this sweater that I made with secondhand yarn. The yarn was sun bleached, and it is discolored in some spots, and it's like more richly colored in other spots, which I think gives it an interesting effect. I didn't have enough to do the sleeves, so I instead used some wool. I think it was fisherman's wool from probably also Lyons brand, and I doubled this yarn up to match this thickness of the secondhand yarn. I just decreased a little bit on the sleeves, but for the most part it's just a box, and I did like just a little bit of shaping on the neck, and it fits kind of wide. It fits like a little bit maybe off the shoulders, not really. This is my favorite piece of the collection for sure. So I made this skirt on a flatbed knitting machine. I did a 1x1 hand manipulated rib on the top. I did regular intervaled hand manipulated eyelets all along here. There was one that I missed right here. That's how you can tell it's hand manipulated, because I forgot one. And then it's got slits on the side, on both sides, and then on the bottom it's a picot hem that I did with crochet. So all of this took forever. I actually was originally planning to do an entirely ribbed skirt, but my ribber started acting up for my knitting machine, and I can't really use it anymore. It's just having so many problems. It didn't want to do what I wanted it to do with this yarn. So I was pretty heartbroken about that, but I'm glad that it evolved into this, because this taught me a lot of lessons about what it is that I could do. And if I were to do this again, I would definitely put elastic up here, because this doesn't stay on for me. Yeah, I think that this was an interesting experiment, and I liked that even though this is cotton yarn and this is wool, they match. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same yarn in order for it to match. I think the different qualities of it make it interesting as an outfit. So, yeah, what else is there to say? If you've seen anything here that you want a tutorial for, let me know. I want to get into tutorials, but I don't want to just remake something just for the hell of it. I kind of like to make new things almost every time that I make something, or at least make it in a different color yarn. But I still want to be able to teach in a way that like puts my ideas out there, since I'm not so good at pattern writing, and I'm also not very good at pattern reading. Like, I just don't follow patterns at all. I I feel like YouTube's a good vehicle for me in order to share, you know, the way that I go about doing things and like figuring it out as I go along, and like using the tricks of, you know, the way that I've approached making garments in the past is different than I think the typical way that you are supposed to learn things from garments and from like from courses where you're learning patterns, paper patterns, and like figuring it out that way. That's just never been my thing. And also, like, I know a lot of people are trying to get into crochet and they don't know where to begin. So I can also, you know, go into that. I've been thinking about that a lot because I've run into so many people that have wanted to learn how to crochet. They don't know where to begin, and they feel like they're not good at it. And that is everybody. Nobody knows how to crochet in the beginning. It's really not an intuitive thing. And it's hard to learn from YouTube sometimes. And I want to try to figure out how to perhaps make or inspire, you know, a way for people to learn how to crochet. Knitting, I think, is a little bit different. I started out with crochet, so I'm biased. And there's also like the knitting machines. Maybe I'll make a video about like the different knitting machines that you can buy if you're interested in that. So let me know what you think and what you'd like to see next. I'd like to release a couple more sweaters this fall, winter. We'll see what I get to. I have them ready, basically. I just have to make a video about one for sure, and the other one just needs like a small tweak, and then I'm ready to put it out. But those ones will be a little bit different than this collection. They're not anything like what's going on here. So I am really excited to bring you more soon, and thank you so much for watching. I love to be able to share this stuff, and it's been such a joy to be able to put things out into the world after not doing that for so long. So like if you're in that spot right now where you're struggling to get things out, like I've been there for most of my life, so don't worry about it too much. Like it's okay to make mistakes and like to unravel things and then finish something and not feel proud of it. Like I've done all of those things for so many years, and like just chill out about it. It's cool. Like don't worry. I don't know why I'm trying to be a counselor right now when like I'm just talking to a camera. But yeah, I just know I've talked to people who've wanted to get into textiles lately, and I feel like it's an internal struggle to be able to like get to that point, to be able to finish a project and feel proud of it. It like can take years, so it's okay. Don't worry about it. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already seen my introduction video, go check that out. I've got my Etsy shop open for the winter at least, and then I've also got an Instagram, so check out all those links. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And yeah, I hope to have something for you soon. Bye.